giving up on your dreams? Neither do I. Growing up, I had a dream, amongst other dreams, that I wanted to be a model. The world of modeling seemed so glamorous to me, and I wanted to be a part of it. My parents signed me up for a kids modeling agency, and it seemed like everything was going smoothly, until tragedy struck. I was terrible at modeling. I wasn't getting enough jobs to save for my retirement. So, unfortunately, that was the end of my modeling dreams. Or so I thought. Because if it had been, then I wouldn't be telling you this story. Fast forward a few years, I'm long-term chilling in Fiji when one of my friends comes up and says that they're gonna try out for this year's Fiji Fashion Week. First of all, I didn't even know there was a Fiji Fashion Week. Second, it was then that something flickered inside. Yes, it was that once snuffed out dream, awakening from its sedentary slumber. All at once, a steady drip of opportunity was forming a small pool of hope in child Nuna's heart. I knew this was my chance. I thought, buckle in, baby Nuna, we're gonna carpe diem that runway. The battle plan was simple. I walk in there like I own the place, act as if I'd been modeling for a millennia, and then seal the deal. That was the easy part. My plan was almost infallible, but there was one small problem. Me. I was the small problem. Technically, I was too short to qualify as one of their models. I stood at roughly 168 centimeters, and I needed to be at least 171. The difference to me seemed infinitesimal, but to them it could be the difference between acceptance or rejection. And to my dismay, I had recently stopped growing vertically. Not to mention my legs were built like a Greek god's. All the better for propelling myself high into the air and winning high jump competitions, but more on that at another time. I had but one option, to dust off my trusty thick heels and learn to walk in stilts. What did I do to prepare for these auditions, you might ask? Absolutely nothing. I knew my confidence would have to stem from complete ignorance. Not knowing my true capabilities meant that anything was possible. It was the classic Schrodinger's cat experiment. My talent being the cat, and I was not going to open that box until the day of the audition. The day of the audition came. I was sweating bullets, not because I was nervous, but because it was hot where I was living. To begin the auditions, they lined us all up under the outside veranda of a museum that they'd hired out, which we never actually got to go inside of, which I thought was interesting. After we all lined up, I'd say there was around 50 models in total. They began giving us a briefing. I used this time to tactfully zone out and began sizing up the competition. Surprisingly, I was not the shortest one there. It seemed that hope was a universal drug that keeps nagging you until every opportunity is taken and will not be silenced until either success or failure is had. As we all stood there listening to the spiel, I tried to act like I knew what I was doing. I did not. I tried to look like I'd done this 100 times, while still remaining respectful. This was done by eye contact breaks and little head nods every now and again. So far, my plan was going well. With the briefing concluded, it was time for taking measurements. They began going down the line one by one, taking the measurements of each person. When they get to me, I try to appear as nonchalant as possible. No awkward panic jokes escaped my mouth. No nervous laughter, except for a small giggle when they measured my waist. But I figured even the most experienced model can still be ticklish. Then it was time to take my height. Oh no, I have to take my platforms off. And just like that, the illusion disappears. As I stand against the wall, I try to visualize my spine growing as I attempt to harness the energy of the giraffe. Without a single word, they take down my measurements and move on to the next person. Had I done it? Had the height demons been vanquished? But alas, no clue was given. With the measurements behind us, we move on to the next stage, the catwalk. This was my time to shine. It was time for that box to be opened. Nothing could hold me back. I replaced my stilts and waited for my name to be called. Now they'd seen Naomi Campbell, they'd seen Gigi Hadid, but they hadn't seen me. I sauntered down the aisle like my life depended on it. When I got to the end, I needed to pose. And I'd seen enough catwalk videos that I knew what was required, and my goodness did I pose. I let my hips pop near to the point of dislocation, and I glared into the camera as if it was a steaming hot bowl of fresh carbonara. I glide back up the aisle without breaking a sweat. I make my way to the end of the line of awaiting models, giving off an air as if I'd done that a million times. And if you classify that as simply walking, then technically that was true. After everyone had had their chance at the runway, the directors took some time to deliberate and select the models that they wanted. We all stood around in nervous anticipation. I thought I did alright for someone with literally no runway experience whatsoever. But that being said, I had no idea if I was up to the standard that they were looking for. Within minutes, their discussion was concluded, and they lined us up again. This was it. One by one, they called out names, with each person stepping forward. We had no idea if that meant you were in or out. They got to the end of the list and my name hadn't been called. Was this it? Had my childhood dreams of becoming a model finally been crushed? As the director spoke these next words, every syllable reverberated around my very core. All those who stepped forward, I'm sorry, but you were unsuccessful. Please feel free to try again next year. As sad as that was for them, my heart gave a tiny shout for joy. Oh my goodness, I was gonna have my chance to sashay down the runway, but then the director started calling out names again, and this time, my name was called. She repeated the words, all those who stepped forward. I froze. You were in Division 4. I unfroze. The moment had come. Victory was mine. The other divisions were assigned, and the audition came to an end. For the next few months, we went through rehearsals, fittings, and photography shoots, giving me my very own next top model experience, minus the traumatic quote-unquote makeovers. The Fashion Week had 3 main shows, held over 3 days, and I was lucky enough to be able to walk on all 3 days. Here I am doing that. Bop. I had an absolute blast, and here's photographic evidence of having said blast. But in the end, I found that modeling really wasn't for me. So after that, I retired from the world of modeling and decided to try my luck with something else. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to provide me with quantifiable evidence of that by liking it. Have a great week, and I'll see you next time.